Ever find yourself in a situation, where you feel like someone else is holding all the cards?
Yeah, yeah,
Like it could be your boss, a client, maybe even a friend.
right.
Today, we're going to try to unpack some of that.
Correct.
Right. We're diving into the nitty-gritty of power dynamics.
Okay.
We're tackling Law 11, specifically from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power.
Okay.
It's a juicy one. Learn to keep people dependent on you.
Uh,
Now, before anyone starts thinking we're turning you into, like, master manipulators here,
right.
the goal is to understand these dynamics.
Yeah.
Because knowledge, after all, is power, right?
Absolutely.
Even if you decide to use that knowledge for, good instead of...
Good. That's the hope, right?
Exactly.
To be aware of these things. I mean, whether you're talking about your workplace or your personal relationships, these dynamics are always there, just below the surface.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so fascinating about this particular law. It brings to light that undercurrent of dependency that I think exists in a lot of relationships.
Yeah. And Green doesn't, he doesn't shy away from it. He digs right into those power plays, right?
Yeah.
Often using historical examples, I mean, to really drive the point home. Like when he talks about absolute rulers, back in the day, they would keep their nobles in check, not necessarily through force, but by strategically making those nobles dependent upon the crown.
Ooh, that's
For
close.
land, for titles.
I think you can practically hear those whispers in the royal court, can't you?
Mhm.
Don't cross the king or you'll lose your lands.
Exactly. You're completely at their mercy.
Yeah, it reminds me of this one job I had where there was this one person who held all the cards.
Yeah.
They were the only one with a relationship with a key client.
Oh, I see.
And I felt, honestly, totally powerless. It was
Yeah.
a difficult situation.
You're stuck. Yeah.
But the thing is, Green, he doesn't just leave it at become indispensable and rule with an iron fist.
Yeah.
He talks about the dangers of being too controlling, too.
Oh, absolutely. He's very clear about that.
Right.
It's not about becoming some kind of dictator. It's about finding a balance.
Right.
It's about, empowering the people you work with, at least to a certain degree, to a point. A good analogy is a mentor-mentee relationship. The mentor provides guidance, offers support, but the ultimate goal, ideally, is to help that mentee become independent, not to keep them perpetually reliant.
So it's about finding that sweet spot then, that sweet spot between being essential
Yes.
and being overbearing, I get.
That's it in a nutshell, I think. It's about, cultivating your value, making yourself the go-to person for something, but in a way that benefits everyone.
Right, like be so good they can't ignore you, but do it ethically.
Yeah.
I like that. It's interesting, though, because haven't we all experienced this in some way?
Oh, I'm sure we have, yeah.
Whether it's at work, maybe you have a skill set no one else has, or even in our personal lives, you're the tech support whiz for your family.
Right, exactly.
You become the go-to person, and suddenly, even without realizing it, you have a certain influence.
Yeah, and that influence can be, well, really powerful. Green argues that dependency inherently breeds a sense of obligation. If someone relies on you consistently to, get things done or solve their problems, well, you have leverage.
It's true. You're right.
But as you said, it's walking that tightrope.
It's a fine line, definitely. And it really makes you think about all those subtle ways, those almost invisible ways that these power dynamics are playing out around us all the time.
Yeah, every day. And, just recognizing them, I mean, that in itself can be a game changer, don't you think?
Yeah.
No matter if you're trying to climb that corporate ladder or just trying to, I don't know, navigate those tricky waters of your personal relationships, I think that's something we can all.
Totally agree. So for those of us who aren't, actively trying to become Machiavelli at work, what's the key takeaway from all of this?
I think it really comes down to this, recognizing your own value, right?
Yeah.
And then, figuring out ethical ways to make yourself indispensable, focus on your skills, become an expert in your field. That, in my opinion, is true power. And that's the kind that can benefit everyone, not just...
I love that. Become so good they can't ignore you and do it with integrity. I like that.
That's the goal.
It does kind of leave you with something to ponder, though. What skills, what knowledge, what could you cultivate that might just tip that balance of power in your favor? In a way, of course, that benefits you and those around you. Well, that's something to think about, isn't it?
It is.
As we wrap up our deep dive.